Hello again, everyone. The Snowman here. Busy time of the tennis season. Back today with my Miami Open Women's Draw preview. This is going to be my first WTA preview since the Australian Open, so there's definitely plenty to unpack. We're going to break down this Women's Draw in Miami, talk about who's been hot lately, who are the favorites for this event, and we'll also look at the most entertaining matchups in round one and beyond in the Sunshine State.
And only 3 of the top 20 players in the world will not be in Miami over these 2 weeks. Number 1 ranked Ash Barty electing to give her body some extra time to heal after her triumph at the Australian Open. She's aiming for an April return. Also, number 4 Barbara Krejcikova out with an elbow injury. No Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova either. She's got a knee issue, and unfortunately Serena Williams not ready to return yet as well. And as we look at this top quarter in Miami, Aryna Sabalenka still technically the number 1 seed despite being number 5 in the rankings. Both Iga Swiatek and Maria Sakkari have overtaken her in the rankings, but since the seeding for Miami is done before taking Indian Wells points into effect, that's why Sabal is lower ranked but a higher seed for the time being. Despite that 1 next to her name, and despite the fact she's won at least one WTA 1000 event in each of the past 4 years, most analysts would hardly consider Sabalenka the favorite heading into Miami. It was a short business trip for the Belarusian out west at Indian Wells, upset in her first match versus the Italian Jasmine Paolini. Still having some serving issues. Sabalenka just 6-6 in 2022 so far. She showed some real grit at the Aussie Open, winning her first 3 matches after dropping the first set, but the wheels have sort of fallen off since then for Sabalenka. It could be number 25 Daria Kasatkina in the 3rd round of this 96-player draw. Some excellent hardcore players just below in number 22 Belinda Bencic and 15 seed Alina Svitolina. I'd like to see Marta Kostyuk take on Bencic in the 2nd round. She's got some powerful groundies, very athletic, both Kostyuk and Svitolina playing with heavy hearts recently as the turmoil continues in Ukraine. Continuing to scan down the page, we see the U.S. Open champion, number 11, Emma Raducanu. She'll be making her main draw debut at the Miami Open. Hard to remember, she's only played 24 matches on the tour level at this point. Still very much a rookie on the WTA. She lost a tough one against Petra Martic last week. Still growing, learning as much as she can under new coach Torben Beltz. Number 23, Simona Halep is back in a big way. Such a difficult 2021 for the Romanian with her injuries and parting ways with coach Darren Cahill, but it looks like we might be entering the 2.0 phase of Halep as a major contender again. She looks as fit as she ever was, ready to run down every ball, playing with a fierce determination. Halep making the semifinals last week at Indian Wells. Only 30 years of age, I can definitely picture Simo getting back into the top 10 or even top 5 pretty soon. We know she'll be a huge factor for the upcoming clay court season. Halep probably the favorite to at least make the quarterfinals here, especially with the 6th seed Karolina Pliskova having just made her season debut last week after dealing with a hand injury. Pliskova was 1 and done at Indian Wells. Probably going to take some time for Pliskova to play her way back into match shape. I wouldn't have high expectations for the Czech in Miami. Overall, it's a pretty open first section with 4 or 5 women having similar odds. I'll roll with Svitolina to advance to the semifinals. Leading the way in section number 2 is the 3 seed Anett Kontaveit. She's top 5 in wins this year, ripped off 9 wins in a row last month. Could have finished February undefeated if not for Iga Swiatek, who I'm very excited to talk about in a bit. But for Kontaveit, a 6th career title in St. Petersburg. She now has a trio of 500 level titles, still working towards that maiden 1000 trophy, but you have to respect her game and all the progress she's made over the last couple of years. I see this draw as a pretty manageable first couple of rounds for Kontaveit. I don't think number 31 Alizé Cornet will scare her too much, although Cornet somewhat in the midst of a career renaissance at the moment. Number 18 Leylah Fernandez was solid in the desert last week, making the 4th round. Fernandez may have to deal with former Aussie Open semifinalist Karolina Muchova in the 2nd round. I believe Muchova making her season debut at this event, but such a creative all-around player. She's been out since last fall, so very excited to see her again. Let's talk about Naomi Osaka, who's in a completely different position than she was 365 days ago coming into Miami. Last year, Osaka was riding high on a 23-match win streak, in contention with Barty for the number 1 ranking after back-to-back major titles in Melbourne and New York. But now the Japanese superstar finds herself ranked 78, and she struggled last week at Indian Wells, losing to Kudermetova. Osaka shaken up a bit by a heckler in the crowd, and it definitely seems like this recent title drought is almost as much a mental thing as it is a tennis thing. And if Osaka's to make a deep run this year, it'll start with Sharma, Kerber, maybe Fernandez. I'd love to see a rematch between Osaka and Fernandez. They met in the third round of the U.S. Open last year. Osaka as the defending champ. Fernandez is the feisty challenger, and the Canadian triumphed in a decisive third set. We also have the 2022 Aussie Open finalist Danielle Collins returning to action this week. She's the 9 seed. Number 32, Sara Sorribes-Tormo, had a fun run in Miami last year. I remember watching a very entertaining match of hers against Andreescu that produced some marathon rallies. I feel like that might have been a 3-hour match. Sorribes-Tormo, a real grinder. And the 8th seed Ons Jabeur looking to bounce back after an early defeat at Indian Wells. I feel like Kontaveit may be the safest pick to win this section, but it would be very on brand for Collins to just come back from injury and have a deep run. Of course, we'll have to keep our eyes on Osaka as well. Going to start at the bottom of Section 3 with the 4 seed Maria Sakkari. She's now at a career high ranking of 3 after a phenomenal week at Indian Wells. Made the final. In fact, she's reached the semifinals or better in 7 of her past 10 tournaments played. Very consistent as of late. I was watching Sakkari during a Tennis Channel interview last week, and they asked her what she thought the biggest strength of her game is, and Sakkari basically said that it's her physicality, her ability to turn a match into a competition of toughness and athletic ability, and I couldn't agree more with that assessment. She's playing these players like Kvitova, Rybakina, and Paula Badosa at Indian Wells. All these players have more talent than Sakkari. They all have more firepower, but one way or another, the Greek finds a way to make the match more about the physical attributes compared to the tennis elements. So props to her. As we work our way up the draw, Sakkari could see number 26 Madison Keys in the third round. She's back up to 26 in the rankings after a very promising start to the season. Great run in Melbourne, quarterfinals at Indian Wells. Keys back to playing carefree, aggressive tennis. I don't know if she'll love seeing a potential second round clash with Sofia Kenin looming though. Number 17, Elena Rybakina coming off a quarterfinal run at Indian Wells. We've got Azarenka and Mertens up in the top half of this quarter. Low-key popcorn first round matchup in my eyes. Danka Kovanic versus Linda Fruhvirtova. Fruhvirtova given a wild card this week, just 16 years old from the Czech Republic. Absolutely a star in the future, so hopefully she puts on a good show as the hype surrounding her career continues to build. And at the top is one of my favorite players to watch right now. Number 5, Paula Badosa. Came pretty close to getting back to the Indian Wells final last week, but thwarted by the aforementioned Sakkari. Badosa's got big weapons. She's a big match player. I think this quarter could come down to a potential fourth round clash of Badosa and Vika Azarenka. Azarenka, a 3-time winner in Miami. Badosa winning their last meeting a couple months ago in Adelaide. I like the Spaniard to reign supreme in Section 3. Finally, we get to the 4th section, and the player that I most want to talk about, number 2, Iga Swiatek. She's the new world number 2. No player has anything close to the current form that she possesses. Swiatek on a super tear. 11 wins on the trot. Back-to-back WTA 1000 trophies lifted in Doha, and then Indian Wells just a few hours before I'm posting this video. I continue to be so impressed with Swiatek's game. Extremely unrelenting and suffocating with her court positioning, pushing opponents back, using her heavy forehand and short angles, turning defense into offense, moving well, returning serve tremendously too. On that Indian Wells final against Sakkari, she won 80% of second serve return points, and nobody is breaking serve at a higher percentage this season. Also, Swiatek, a player that really plays her way into tournaments. She can be shaky in the early rounds, but once she hits her stride, it can be scary. She's now 5-0 in her last 5 WTA finals. Swiatek had the 2020 Roland Garros final, which she won 6-4, 6-1 over Kenin. Adelaide 21 over Bencic, 6-2, 6-2. Rome 21 over Pliskova, 6-love, 6-love. Doha 22 over Kontaveit, 6-2, 6-love. And now the Indian Wells final over Sakkari, 6-4, 6-1. Not a single set dropped in those finals, and most of the sets not even close. Iga is the first player to win 5 WTA titles before turning 21 since 2009. That was Caroline Wozniacki, so the future could not be brighter. And it's a pretty kind draw for Swiatek. She may have to play the South Florida native number 14 Coco Gauff at some point, but I think the bigger threats are in the top part of this section. Not only players like number 7 Garbiñe Muguruza and number 28 Petra Kvitova, but also number 10 Yelena Ostapenko. She had an early exit at Indian Wells, but shortly before that, that, the Latvian was on a career-best 9-match winning streak, defeating 6 Grand Slam champions in that time span. A big title in Dubai, always dangerous when Ostapenko's flame is burning intensely. And then the 21 seed Veronika Kudermetova, one of the biggest winners at Indian Wells in my opinion, did some serious damage, upsetting Naomi Osaka and defeating Marketa Vondrousova to make the quarters. And she might have a top 10 backhand on the WTA Tour. Very flat, very powerful, impressive how she can move opponents off the court with that shot. That being said, I'm not going to go against Swiatek right now, not in this quarter, and not for the tournament as a whole either. I don't know if she'll actually make it 3 1,000 level titles in a row, but Swiatek definitely deserves to be the favorite. She looks unstoppable.
Thanks a lot for watching my Miami Open Women's Draw preview. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of my analysis. Who do you think is going to perform well at this event in Florida? Also, subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media for more tennis preview videos and content, and I should be back very soon. Thanks a lot. Cheers.